Professional hockey is the fastest team sport in the world. But even at this level, hockey is an intense, exciting game, provided you understand just what it is you're watching. In the purest terms, hockey is motion, speed, grace, coordination, and you need a great deal of strength. It's 10 skaters going full throttle to achieve that elusive goal. And it's the goaltenders trying to prevent that from happening. Hockey is a physically demanding game that requires its superbly conditioned athletes to possess two completely different skills, skating and stick handling, and both are equally important to playing the game. Skating is an activity that anyone can learn, but believe me, few ever master. The hockey player must be an expert skater. In fact, to most hockey players, skating just becomes so natural that they don't even think about the fact they're on the ice. This is necessary because while they're skating, hockey players are carrying the sticks they use to maneuver the puck into the opposing goal. Because players must use their sticks to move the puck, hockey sticks then become part of the player's body, like the arms, the hands, and legs. The dual skills of skating and stick handling become simply a part of the routine for professional hockey players, to the point it's not only second nature to them and taken for granted by the fans of the game, it really transcends skating and stick handling as individual skills to become another entity, the game of hockey. In the next few minutes, you'll learn about the game of hockey. We'll take you step by step through the rules, the regulations, the player positions, and of course the objectives of this fascinating game. And at the end of this video, we'll watch real hockey game action and we'll watch it together. So whether you're interested in playing the game or just planning to become a more knowledgeable spectator, Hockey U is your ticket to understanding the game of hockey. 1,000 years ago, ice skating was a mode of transportation in Northern Europe. In those days, travelers would glide along the frozen rivers, streams, and creeks using skates made from shaped, small animal bones. It was only a matter of time before the crude competition developed between makeshift teams on ice skates using sticks to move an object towards the opposing goal areas. French explorers in North America observed the Native Americans playing a similar game using field tools that resembled shepherd's crooks. The French called these tools hoquettes. So then, by the middle of the 19th century, British troops were playing an early form of the game on Canada's frozen waterways. 3 Canadian cities, Halifax, Kingston, and Montreal, they all lay claim to the first formal hockey game. But in Kingston, games were being played as early as 1830. But the earliest recorded organized game of hockey was played in Montreal back in 1875 between 2 teams of McGill University students. The game was organized by a student from Halifax. Now in 1885, the first formal hockey league included 4 teams in Kingston, Ontario. From there, the game's popularity caught on, and in 1893, along comes Frederick Arthur. He's the Governor General of Canada and Lord Stanley of Preston. And he lent his title to the trophy awarded annually to Canada's best amateur hockey team. The Stanley Cup gave the sport credibility, and this tradition continues at the professional level today. Now look, the object of the game of hockey is very simple. Move this 1-inch thick, 3-inch in diameter, 6-ounce vulcanized rubber disc, or puck as they call it, into the opposing team's 6-foot wide by 4-foot high goal. That's no problem, right? This little puck into that big goal. That's easy. Now, as you can see, it's not so easy. even though the puck can move at speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour, with the players themselves traveling up and down the ice at speeds approaching 30 miles an hour. Hockey is a very low-scoring game. Combined scores rarely get into the double digits, and the scores of 1 or 2 to nothing are very common. Ice hockey players skate on a playing surface that's called a rink. The rink is 200 feet long, 85 feet wide, and it has rounded corners. The rink is then enclosed by sideboards, which can be up to 4 feet high. Most rinks also use what they call plexiglass panels to extend the boards vertically. And that helps keep the puck in the rink and certainly will protect the spectators from being hit by the puck. There are several lines, circles, and dots painted under the ice. 13 feet from each end of the rink are the red goal lines. Another wider red line marks the center of the ice. 2 blue lines, each 60 feet from the goal lines, divide the rink into 3 zones. The center area between the blue lines is called the neutral zone, while the areas from the blue lines towards the goal that each team is defending are the attacking zones. There are also 5 large red circles on the rink, 2 in each attacking zone and 1 in the center of the rink. And at the center of each circle is a dot. And remember this is called the face-off spot. Finally, there are 4 red spots in the neutral zone measured 5 feet from each blue line. Now originally, 9 players from each team could participate in games, but 18 people on the ice at a given time really made for a very crowded hockey rink. So in 1909, the rules and regulations were revised to establish the 6-man lineups that are played today. The goaltender or goalie protects his team's goal area. He stands in front of the net in a semicircular area called the goal crease. His purpose is to prevent the opposing team from scoring. He is assisted by 2 defensemen. They are charged with the job of keeping the puck out of their defensive zone, and of course, out of the net. 2 wingers, a right wing and a left wing. Then there's a centerman, or you can call him a center, and that will make up the attacking portion of the lineup. Their primary job is to score goals. Now, if you've never watched a hockey game before, you're probably quite confused over why the game stops from time to time. And many times for no apparent reason, it seems. You might even think that hockey has no rules. But the fact is, hockey has hundreds of pages of rules and regulations. They cover everything from the size of the rink, right down to the size of the puck, and even the curvature of the sticks. And someone, besides the players, has to know each and every one of these rules to make sure that none of the rules get broken. But rules, as they say, were made to be broken. There are 3 additional people on the ice during the games. Their job is to make sure the players abide by the rules. That's easy enough, right? Well, then again, maybe not. In fact, officiating a hockey game just might be as hard as playing it. Although there are only 3 officials on the ice, there are actually 8 people charged with enforcing the rules of this game. The referee is in charge of the game from the time the players step onto the ice until the end of the game. 2 linesmen assist the referee by watching for such infractions as icing, offsides, and major penalties. Along with the 3 on-ice officials, there are several off-ice officials. There are 2 goal judges, 1 behind each goal, whose only job is to signal when the puck has entered the net. There are 2 timekeepers, 1 game timekeeper and a penalty timekeeper. The official scorer obtains a list of all eligible players from each team before the start of the game. They also keep an official record of all goals and assists and the players to be credited likewise. At every game played, there is a statistician appointed for duty, and they are responsible for all required data recorded on official forms about individual players as well as the teams involved in the game that night. So, as you can see, there are more officials in a game of hockey than there are players on the ice for each team. Now this play stopped because it's an offside play. Offsides occur when a player crosses the blue line into his attacking zone before the puck does. This offside resulted in the play being stopped immediately because the player touched the puck in the attacking zone. So how did they resume the play? Well, with another face-off, but this time at the face-off spot near the blue line where the offsides occurred. Here's an example of another offsides play, one in which the play continues. The left winger crossed the blue line ahead of the puck. He was obviously offsides. So why doesn't play stop immediately? Because the puck was not touched by any member of the attacking team inside the zone. In fact, the attacking team had to wait for the winger to get back on sides before they could cross the blue line into the attacking zone. Now look, it's really very simple if you think about it in these terms. Generally, whenever a player crosses the attacking zone's blue line before the puck, or whenever he waits for and accepts a pass from his teammate who is 2 or more center lines away, the play is offsides. Offsides doesn't apply to the goal lines. As we're about to see, they have another purpose. Now this pass originated from this defenseman. Notice he's skating on his half of the ice. That's his side of the center line. Now he passed to the left winger, but the winger couldn't get to it in time and it continued all the way past the goal line. Now if the goalie plays the puck, play will continue. And if the blue center touches the puck first, play also continues. But if the white defenseman touches the puck first, the play stops and the puck comes all the way back to the blue defensive zone for the faceoff. This play resulted in icing because the defenseman touched the puck first. When the opponents race to gain possession of a nice puck, I'm telling you, it can be one of the most exciting moments in hockey. Now, when a football player does something wrong, the officials penalize the team by taking away a specific number of yards. Both teams, though, they continue the game with 11 players aside. Let's shift over to basketball. Basketball players either lose possession of the ball or the other team is awarded a free throw. But they continue the game with all 5 players per side. But hockey penalties, well, they aren't measured in yardage or they're not measured in free throws. They're measured in time. With one exception, hockey requires the penalized player or players to sit out of the game for a specific amount of time. During that time, the team plays shorthanded. Minor penalties require the player to sit out for 2 minutes. These penalties generally are the result of illegally impeding the flow of the game.
Boarding, butt ending, charging, cross-checking, elbowing, high sticking, holding, hooking, interference, flashing, spearing, tripping.
When a penalty is called on a player, play stops. The player then proceeds to the penalty box to serve his time. Play continues after the face-off with the opposing team receiving what is called a power play. This means that the penalized team is playing with fewer players than the opposing team. The power play continues until the penalty time expires or the power play team scores a goal. Although there can be any number of players from one team in the penalty box at a given time, the penalized or the shorthanded team cannot play with less than 3 players and a goalie. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Penalties can be called on goaltenders, and they can be called on the coaches, and even the players on the bench. In these cases, one of the players on the ice at the time the penalty was called has to sit it out in the penalty box. I should mention that all minor penalties are called by the referee. Now, linesmen cannot call minor penalties, but all of the on-ice officials can and do call major penalties. Major penalties cost the offending team 5 minutes of the player's time. Now the other team will then be on the power play, not for a 2-minute minor now, but for a 5-minute major. And regardless of how many goals they score during that time, they continue to stay on the power play. Now, if you think it couldn't get any worse, the rules also allow for 10-minute major penalties, misconduct penalties, and match penalties. These penalties result in players sitting out for 10 minutes or more, or even being thrown right out of the game. However, misconduct and match penalties do not require the offending team to play short-handed. There are also combinations of penalties and concurrent penalties. Players can serve double minor penalties, or one player may serve a minor penalty while the teammate who committed the foul, he's out of the game. Now, one of the most exciting plays in hockey is the breakaway. Oh, you're going to love breakaways, and a single player from the opposing team finds himself one-on-one as he speeds in unchecked against the goalie. That is, until one of the goalie's teammates trips him up, or maybe hooks him, or even worse, he can't catch him and he throws a stick to knock the puck away. Penalty shots can also be awarded when a defending player other than the goalie covers the puck in the crease. Any illegal interference with a breakaway opportunity results in a penalty shot. Essentially, the player who was interfered with gets the shot he was trying to take anyway. Only with a penalty shot, it's the shooter that will be one-on-one against the goalie. Until the 1960s, most hockey players wore very little equipment other than skates and gloves. But as the game progressed into the 70s, that increased speed and the strength and the size and the agility of the players really created a necessity for a more and better protective gear. Now my friend Bo here is going to help me show you the equipment worn by today's hockey players. Now the equipment starts with the athletic supporter, which includes a molded plastic cup, which Bo is already wearing, so we'll just move on to the shin pads. Now the shin pads protect the lower leg with a hard molded material. I mean, this thing will stop bullets, and it's backed with a soft padding on the inside and also extends over the calf muscle in the back, which is very important. Now, the mobility is so important when it comes to skating, and as you can see right here, there's plenty of mobility. Now, the stockings, they're not part of the protective equipment. The players have to dress by putting the equipment on in a certain order. The stockings are held up by a garter belt or a hook and loop fastener. Now I should tell you there are many different styles of equipment and there's a lot of combinations. What we're showing you is typical, and it just happens to be the equipment that Bo is most comfortable with. Now let's take a look at the hockey pants. And it's an all-in-one approach to protecting the mid-body. They contain very hard plastic thigh pads. There's hamstring pads, there's hip pads, there's a tailbone pad in here someplace, and there's even pads to protect the abdominal area. The pants are held up by suspenders or belt ties. Now we'll take a look at the shoulder pads. And Bo, if you'll be kind enough to put these on, we'll see how they fit. Okay, Bo's putting on the pads right now, and you'll see something that's very, very important here. The front, and Bo, just let me pull this down for a second. Look at this, it goes right to the top of the pants. Not only there, but Bo, just turn around a little bit. Look at this. You're covered in the front, you're covered in the back. I mean, where are you going to get hurt? And this is especially important if you're a defenseman. They block a lot of shots. These guys are shooting pucks 100 miles an hour. They go down and block shots. And this area right here becomes very, very important because that's where you're going to take a lot of the shots from opposing forwards. Now, it even reaches to the point that some players, they wear flak jackets to protect the ribs. And that's also very important. It's hard to get to the ribs with all this protection. and also to cover the bicep and the tricep muscles. Look where this goes, right down here, and then eventually you'll see the elbow pads, and we'll see where this is going to fit right up in here for a full protection all the way down the arm. So let's take a look at the elbow pad now. And the elbow pads not only protect the elbows, but they meet the shoulder pads to fully protect the upper arm. I mean, just listen to this. Once again, all the protection in the world. They also extend to cover the upper forearm. Okay, Bo, I'm going to ask you to dress a little out of sequence for just a moment by putting this glove on. And as you can see, the glove is an extension that picks up where the elbow pads leave off to completely protect the arm. Notice the placement of the padding on these gloves. While the palm of the glove is made of very soft, flexible leather that allows a player full mobility so he can grasp and feel and control the stick. The back of the glove then uses a ½ inch or more of specially designed semi-rigid padding which allows the hand to flex naturally while being fully protected. The back of the thumb is protected by a very rigid material due to the position of the hand when it is carrying the stick. And as you can see, this system certainly affords complete protection of the entire body for the skater. Well, not only is ice slippery in any given rink, it's as hard as concrete. And there are times when a player may not be able to break his fall. The helmet is specially designed to absorb the blows to the head and spread that shock over the entire protective area, including the inside where there's even more protection. Now, Bo also chooses to wear the attached face shield. And there's many variations of this face shield. There's also cages, and there's also mouth guards that players wear nowadays to protect their teeth. I mean, the difference in this compared to many years ago is just amazing. It's getting better every year. Young kids are more protected, especially when they're just learning the game, and it's essential to wear this no matter where you are when you're playing hockey. Well, it's time to move along to the skates. We're going to take a look at a pair of skates here from, well, my pair of skates, as a matter of fact, from 30 years ago. And as you can see, they're made of leather and very, very easy to bend, very little protection, no stiffness. I mean, these things would get soaking wet. You'd have to hang them up after every game, and hopefully they were dry in the morning. You'd start off at the beginning of the game. They'd weigh a ½ pound. By the time the game was over, they'd weigh 2 pounds. So they're awful beasts to wear. They weren't very pleasant at all. And especially playing defense, a lot of those shots coming in would catch you on the side of the ankle here, no protection. You'd limp off, or you'd never take your skate off in case your foot would blow up, and you wouldn't take it off until the game was over. And I'll tell you, the game has come a long way as we'll take a look at a brand new modern skate, and as you can see, the difference is dramatic. What a marked improvement and a difference in the game of hockey. Still leather, okay, on the outside, and certainly the special coatings and the coverings will make the skate more rigid to protect the foot and to increase the support in the ankle area. It's a much, much improved skate, and it's so much safer, especially for the young kids nowadays. If you talk about one great improvement in the game of hockey, you're looking at it right here. There you go, Bo. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more to the uniform than meets the eye. The average hockey equipment bag weighs in excess of 25 pounds, and virtually all of those pounds translate into additional weight that the player has to carry while he plays. Now, speaking of carrying weight, how about Bo's stick? It weighs less than a couple pounds, but it can pack a wallop. It's going to have to, because that's what shoots the puck. And as we mentioned earlier, the pucks can travel sometimes well over 100 miles an hour, and this is what will shoot the puck. Notice that the blade is curved, and with that curve, that'll allow the players to more easily lift the puck off the ice if it's necessary. And the rules tell us that the curvature of the stick cannot be more than 1/2 inch. And notice that Bo has wrapped the blade of his stick with athletic tape. So athletic tape, 1/2 inch, no more now, from here to here. And that'll allow him greater control over the puck. Okay, Bo, there's your stick, and why don't you take a look right here and show everybody how you're completely dressed from the top to the bottom. I mean, this guy, you couldn't get at him with an axe. Look at this. He's covered in the front, he's covered in the back. all the way down to his feet. You got the protection in the skates. There's no excuses now. Go away and play hockey. We began this segment with scenes from the days when the skaters wore very little protective equipment. But what about the guys guarding the net? Hockey goaltenders have always been a special breed, and in the early days it took a very special person to stand in front of a net, while 5 guys took pot shots at him. Notice, he's not even wearing a face mask. Now today, goaltenders are afforded full protection, as Jamie here will demonstrate. Now, Jamie, is there any part of your body that isn't fully protected?
My neck. Right here.
Well, that's about 3 square inches. Have you ever been hit there?
Almost, but I went like this.
Well, masks are unique to each individual. More because of the way they're painted or because of sentimentality rather than design or function. Now, the purpose of the mask, of course, is to protect the face, head, and neck. Now, the goalie pads can be up to 1 foot wide, and as you can see, they're very thick. And also notice how they come together to form a small wall. Now, how about this goalie glove? It contains special padding, but most important, its size helps the goalie catch and handle the pucks. And this is one of the other perks that only goalies receive. They're the only players on the ice who are allowed to catch the pucks with their hands to stop the play in progress. Okay, now it's time to take a look at another glove, and this one's called a blocker. It has a plate attached to it, and it can be up to 8 inches wide and only 16 inches long, and it's used to deflect shots from the goal area. Now, while Jamie gets ready to show us what's under his uniform, we'll take a look at his stick. While the design and skater stick is optimized for stick handling and shooting, the goalie stick, his main purpose, is to use it to block shots. It's real simple. And that's why the blade and the lower portion of the shaft are wider than most on a skater stick. And the blade itself can be up to 15.5 inches long instead of 12.5 inches long. And as I said, the rest of the equipment is similar to that worn by skaters. Now, the pants contain thigh, hamstring, hip, and tailbone pads, and pads to protect the abdominal area. The goalie's chest protector combines the skater's shoulder pads, elbow pads, and flak jacket or rib protector. And remember, the goalie's pads are much bigger and bulkier while still allowing full range of mobility. After all, a goalie must remain agile. Professional hockey games consist of 3 20-minute periods with 2 15-minute intermissions. Now, because the game clock stops when the play is stopped, games sometimes can take up to 3 hours or even more to complete. At the end of 60 minutes of play, well, it's real simple. The team with the highest number of goals, they're the winner. But in the event that there is a tie score, the game will then go into sudden death overtime. During the playoffs, as many 20-minute overtime periods as necessary will be played to determine the winner. Teams will continue to play sudden death overtime until one team scores a goal. At the beginning of the game, players line up at center ice. Now the goalies, they tend their nets. Then you have the 2 right wingers. They line up against their opposing left wingers. The defensemen generally line up behind their forwards. The centers are the only two players allowed inside that face-off circle. Notice that both teams are lined up on their own side of the rink. Players may not line up ahead of the puck or they're considered to be offside. The referee stands to one side of the face-off spot, then he'll prepare to drop the puck between the two centers. The objective of the opening play in any face-off is to generally direct the puck to a fellow teammate. And there are set and designed plays for all face-offs. And that will really differ depending upon what area of the rink you're in. Face-offs are definitely a case of, hey, you win some, I lose some, and vice versa. After the puck is dropped, players may elect to carry the puck themselves, or they can pass it to any of their teammates trying to outmaneuver the opposition. Now, checking is a term you're going to hear often, because when a member of one team has the puck, it's the other team's job to stop or check the opposition. There are essentially two ways this can happen: by checking the puck or checking the man with the puck. Poking the puck off the opposing player's stick is called a poke check. Now, poke checking is effective, but it is much more common to take the man off the puck simply by checking his body. That way, a teammate can come along and just retrieve the puck and start a rush up the ice. So it is essential that the forwards help their defensemen by coming back into their defensive zone to back-check their opponents. If a member of the back-checking team manages to move the puck out of his defensive zone, he has cleared the puck. And when they get into the attacking zone, the defensive team will try to check them off the puck. A real good forechecking team, they'll be relentless in their pursuit of the puck in the attacking zone whenever the defensive team has the puck. And that will prevent them from clearing the puck or breaking out of the zone. Now, when games end in a tie, both teams move up in their league standings. Will you say how? Well, that's pretty simple. Hockey games are worth 2 points. The winning team gets both points. And the losing team, they get none. Now, if the game ends up in a tie, each team is awarded 1 point. At the end of the regular season, the teams with the highest number of points, they'll enter the playoffs. Then the second season begins. And that's the most exciting hockey you'll ever see. By the way, professional hockey players, well, they're compensated for their abilities. But money isn't their only reward. Hockey is a sport that is deeply steeped in tradition, and individual achievements and awards are personal goals that every player strives to attain. Now, in the American Hockey League, or better known as the AHL, it's the Calder Cup. Then in the International Hockey League, better known as the IHL, the players are going after the Turner Cup. Then in the National Hockey League, or the NHL, how those players want to get their arms around Lord Stanley's Cup, the Stanley Cup. There's much more to the game of hockey than we have time to cover in just a single video. It's going to take a series of videos to really cover the finer points of the game. There's the coaching and the playing strategies. Then there's the one-on-one competitions that take place during a given game, and the specialized skills and techniques required from each and every position and each and every player. Professional hockey is, as I said earlier, the world's fastest team sport. But more than that, hockey is motion, speed. It's made up of grace and coordination and a great deal of strength. We hope Hockey U has given you a basic understanding of the greatest game on earth, an understanding that will let you enjoy the game of hockey, whether you're cheering for your favorite pro team or our future pro stars.